Good evening, all, and welcome back to the Labor and Public Employees Committee meeting. We will reconvene. The time is 7:25, and we will get started. I have no remarks. It's late. It's been a long day, and I'm ready to get to business. So I will ask my co-chair if she would like to make any comments.
No, I concur. Let's get going. Thank you for being here, everyone.
All right, and then we will move on to our rankings. Senator Sampson gave me the wave. He said no. And Representative Aurora?
Well, we got some very key bills here to discuss and vote on, so let's go.
All right, well, you all heard it. We thank you for being with us tonight, and we will get started with Roman numeral 3 on our agenda, bills for final action, starting with number 1, House Bill 5158, and that concerning breastfeeding in the working place. This bill establishes certain criteria that an employer-provided area must meet for employees expressing breast milk. Current laws require employers to make reasonable efforts to provide a room or other location other than a toilet stall where an employee can express her milk in private during a meal or break period. The bill further specifies that as long as there is no undue hardship, this area must be free from intrusion and shielded from the public while the employee expresses her milk. It also requires that the area, 1, include or be near a refrigerator or employee-provided portable cold storage device in which the employee can store her breast milk, and 2, have access to an electric outlet. I will open the floor now for any comments, discussions, or questions.
I'd like to move it, Madam.
Okay,
Second.
we have a motion by Representative Vargas and a second by Senator Kushner. Any comments, discussion, questions? Yes, Representative Sampson.
Senator Sampson now, Madam Chairman, but thank you very much for recognizing me. It's quite all right.
Senator Sampson, it's been a long day. Senator.
Oh, of course, I understand. So I'm just taking a look at the bill language for the proposal that's before us. And can you just confirm for me, Madam Chairman, that the current law basically says that any employee may, at her discretion, express breast milk or breastfeed on-site at her workplace during her meal or break period, and that an employer shall make reasonable efforts to provide a room or other location in close proximity to the work area other than a toilet stall where the employee can express her milk in private. Is that the current law? And we're looking at this new language about providing there is no undue hardship. They need to create a room or location.
That is correct, Senator Sampson.
All right, thank you very much, Madam Chairman. Yeah, see, just looking through the bill, the thing I would say about this is it doesn't look to me like the new language makes any real difference to what the current law is. And in fact, I would argue that the current law doesn't do much of anything either. And that's a concern to me because I believe that what we do in the legislature is extremely important. And that if we're going to take the energy and time to hold hearings, propose bills, and have committee meetings, discuss these issues, and then pass things into law, they should have some merit and they should have some impact. And I'm afraid that this bill doesn't have any impact because it just says an employer shall make reasonable efforts. Is there a definition of reasonable efforts, Madam Chairman?
There is no definition in the language.
Understood. And the new language says, provided there is no undue hardship. That sounds to me like there's no requirement at all for this to actually happen. Would you disagree with that, Madam Chairman?
Well, we say an undue hardship is any action that requires significant difficulty or expense when considered in relation to factors such as the business's size and financial resources and the nature and structure of its operation. So that is what we are specifying when we say undue hardship.
Understood. And thank you very much for that clarification. Would you do me a favor, by the way, and ask the other members who are not speaking to mute because there's some feedback once in a while.
You all have heard.
And that was
Senator
you,
Sampson.
Representative, Mr. Representative Aurora. So thank you very much for that clarification, Madam Chairman. I mean, that is helpful to a degree. I guess what I'm driving at with this bill is that I think that if this was an actual true mandate, where it said that every business must actually do this, which means construct a room to allow their employees to be free to express their milk in private, free from intrusion, shielded from the public, in a private room that's not a bathroom, situated near a refrigerator, and an electrical outlet, I think you'd have a lot of pushback from business owners across the state because it would be a pretty significant mandate on businesses. The thing is that I think that the legislature, when they passed the original law, didn't have the nerve to make such a demand of a mandate. And I think that this follow-up is just another minor, attempt at trying to create the appearance of a mandate. Like we're going to appear to do something really bold and helpful to this population, for this population, and I don't see it. So, Madam Chairman, I'm frustrated because I think we have to decide what our role is when we make these policy decisions. And if we're going to make a requirement in our laws that a business must do something in our state, then we've got to mean it, and it's got to actually come through. Now, I wouldn't support such a mandate because I think it would be contrary to the benefit of our business community and the ability for people to get jobs. I mean, Connecticut is known as a place that is somewhat hostile to the business community because of so many regulations. And I'm just fearful that if we go ahead and put on regulations like this, we're actually cutting off our nose to spite our face. So I wouldn't support a mandate like that. But conversely, the argument is, well, you should support it, Senator Sampson, because it's not really that strong of a mandate. It's just a suggestion. And I want to reject that also, because I really think that if there are folks out there that believe that we should live in a world where the government should have the ability to put these types of requirements on businesses, then they should put the money where their mouth is and be willing to stand up to the challenges that they would receive from the business community and not try and do this halfway kind of thing. So I just wanted to be on the record saying that. And thank you very much, Madam Chairman, but I'm going to oppose the bill. I believe firmly that employers and employees in general, like all people, are good people. And I think that in 99.9% of cases, people can work these things out themselves. I've had employees and I've had employers, and I've had to ask for accommodations for all sorts of things. And I've had employees ask me for accommodations. And I've tried to work with my employees and employers in both cases and was able to do it successfully. And I think a lot of our colleagues, even on the screen today, who are in the business community or have been employees, will tell you that if there is some employee that needs accommodation for breastfeeding, I know most employers are going to work very hard, especially if that's a valuable employee to them, to work it out. I'm very much against us deciding for people by force, because that's what we're doing here. We would be passing a law saying that we are forcing businesses to do something when they very may well be willing to accommodate it in a superior way than the way our law is drafted. And I think we ought to be careful of that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Sampson, and I take all that you've said into consideration. And I will take it with a grain of salt, being a woman that has had 2 children and had to deal with these issues in the workplace. It is a real issue. We've heard several stories about it, and I believe that what we're doing is actually advancing the cause, and I do believe that, it is going to be effective. So I will respectfully disagree with you on this, and look to see Representative Ritigliano. You are up next, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just had one quick question. Is there any limiting factor to this legislation? Does it only apply to certain employers of a certain size, or does it apply to everyone?
That is not stated here. I will ask my LCO if he can answer that question, please.
Madam Chair, I'm just taking a look at the language right now. I don't think it specifies if OLR has anything different, then I don't see that it specifies.
Is it,
Actually, I stand corrected. Section D does state, as used in this section, employer means a person engaged in business who has one or more employees, including the state and any political subdivision of the state.
so everybody, it applies to everybody. Is there any requirement in the legislation for size of the business, like the retail footprint of the business? You know, whether or not they have the capability of having a room or a separate refrigerator. Is there any limiting factor at all? That would be my only question.
Your only other question.
Other question. You know what I'm saying? I can think of 10 more if you like. I was only going to do 2.
Hey, we're here. Let's
Yeah.
go. And you know, I'm making fun. I'm not.
It's okay. I can handle it.
Okay, good. I know you can. It does state that reasonable efforts, that's what we went back to, and undue hardship. So the reasonable efforts means any effort that would not impose an undue hardship on the operation of the employer's business.
Okay.
And I
So-
stated the undue hardship earlier.
So that actually makes sense. So you're saying if the tiny little 300 square foot retail location, that would be an undue hardship. You're saying it's covered under that provision.
Yes, that is what
yeah.
is stated in the legislation,
All right.
Representative.
Good enough. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. Thank you. Senator Kushner.
Thank you, Representative Porter, Madam Chair. I do want to point out that I know you read this earlier about the undue hardship, but it does go to the issue of the size, the footprint perhaps, because it specifically says in relation to factors such as the size of the business, its financial resources, and the nature and structure of its operations. So I think it does look at that. And I think, you know, to Senator Sampson's point, I think that when we pass legislation, sometimes we don't know how it's going to actually work, or we think it's going to work one way and we find out that there are some limitations and we need to go in and make some changes. That happens, as I'm told, all the time. And I think this is a good example of that, where just having access to a space, we know from testimony, and at least I know from my own experience, and I know Robin, Representative Porter mentioned this as well, just from our own experience, that that unless you have a certain amount of not just privacy, but also the ability to refrigerate your expressed milk and have access to an electrical outlet, that it's really probably not sufficient to be able to really carry on as a nursing mother and be back at work. And that certainly was my experience. And so I think that the reason we have the undue hardship and language in there and reasonable efforts is so that not just that it makes it a request, but really if there was an appeal to a court of law, if there was an appeal that the employer didn't live up to the obligations under the statute, the judge would certainly take those conditions and the ones that Representative Bertigliano was asking about, size and operation, into account and make a determination that I think we would all be satisfied with and rely upon. And it would guide employers as well as employees going forward. So, you know, I hope that people will vote to pass this, because I think we all care about giving women the opportunity to have babies and come back to work and be productive. And this contributes to the well-being of the child and also the well-being of the mother being able to be productive. I can tell you I needed to go back to work after a certain point. I wasn't ready to stop nursing. And it really did help to have a space where I could continue to express milk. Thank you, Representative Porter. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Kushner. Representative Vargas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know, I was listening carefully to what Senator Sampson and Representative Bertigliano said, and I like this bill. And I wanted to speak to this bill because when it comes to this issue of breastfeeding, a lot of what we try to do is educate people and focus them in on it, because, you know, there's been numerous studies that show that children that have the advantage of having been breastfed develop a much stronger immune system during their lives than those that are fed on formula. And this bill, I like this bill because it's a soft touch. You know, it's not like a mandate. It's really basically focuses the parties in on doing what they can. And most likely as Senator Sampson said, it's being done anyway, and so did, Representative Ruggiano. The bill doesn't go really that far in terms of a mandate, but it does focus in people on the issue of breastfeeding, and it's another educational tool that may get people thinking in terms of this issue. So thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Thank you, Representative Vargas. Senator Sampson for the second time.
Thank you for recognizing me, Madam Chairman. I feel the need to follow up only because the good Senate Chairman did mention me and also implied that you needed to vote in favor of this bill to indicate that you care about breastfeeding mothers. And I assure you that I care about breastfeeding as much as Representative Vargas just indicated. And, I've got people in my own family and my life, and I just look at this issue in a little bit differently, that I don't believe it's the role of our state government. I don't think that the people that were drafting our state constitution were sitting around suggesting that someday we would be determining whether or not businesses would be required to establish breastfeeding rooms in their businesses. And that's the only difference. But it certainly has nothing to do with caring about an issue or a population of people. And I just like that on the record. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Sampson. Representative Aurora.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm supportive of this bill. Although, I really get challenged by the fact that the bill has got no teeth and the bill is mere suggestion. And, when you hear Senator Sampson lay out the case, we have to understand that, doing things which are going to achieve virtually anybody will have a way out on this. And then the third point I want to make is that passing a bill like this really sends a signal that we do not trust most of our population to do the right thing by themselves, that we are distrustful as a legislator. We think everybody is bad, because in my experience, most employers I have come across, and I've employed maybe 100 people in my lifetime. I've never been a big employer, and I've been employed by maybe 5 people in my lifetime, right? And I sincerely believe that most employers, if they do not have that hardship or that unreasonable situation, would certainly, when asked, comply or agree or gladly help out, or it's not even a help out, accommodate. And I think there is no need for further legislation on this score. But nevertheless, if there is, because of the fact that there is undue hardship clauses there, the unreasonable clauses there, I think everybody really, anybody who has a hardship has an out. So I am going to vote for this bill. I will encourage others to vote for this bill, but I do want to point out that this is a bill which is really achieves very little, and to the extent that there is, I always listen very closely to my friend Representative Vargas, to the extent that it gets some educational value out, maybe that's why I'm voting for it, for the educational value, and basically to ensure that that those who are the public hearings we heard of people who really think it will make a difference, but in reality this is something which is what we call legislative overreach, and we need to stop doing that. But having said that, this is a cause which is very important to me as well, and my family, and what I believe in, and so I'll be supporting this bill. So that's what I have to say. Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you, Representative Aurora. Representative Hughes.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I just would like to be on the record that I simply see this as a modernizing and inclusive workplace, so that it, working mothers do not need to ask for a special accommodation to simply be a human being in the workplace. And I agree with the idea that it is educating, because by default, a lot of workplaces simply aren't inclusive for working mothers, breastfeeding, non-breastfeeding, whatever. They shouldn't have to be ashamed or ask for special accommodations. This should just be the standard for modern workplace inclusive, universally inclusive settings, regardless of gender or parental status. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Hughes. Senator Kushner for the second time.
Just want to say, Senator Sampson, I did not mean to intend, I didn't have any intention of suggesting you don't care about mothers or nursing mothers, and I'll be more careful how I express myself because I think our difference is one of philosophy, not at all about caring about people. So I apologize if you took it that way. That wasn't my intention. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Kushner. Seeing no further comments, questions, or hands, I will move to ask the clerk to call. We're going to do a roll call on HB 5158, an act concerning breastfeeding in the workplace. JF to the floor.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Oh, never mind. I'm sorry. I apologize. I needed clarification.
So we had a motion. Devin, you got the motion in the second for this, correct?
I'll second it if it's not already seconded, Rep. Hughes.
Well, we did the motion in the second when we started out, and then we opened it up for discussion. So at this time, I'm asking the clerk to please call the roll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Roman numeral 3, bills for final action. Item number 1, HB 5158, an act concerning breastfeeding in the workplace. JF to the floor. Senator Kushner?
Kushner votes yes.
Representative Porter?
Representative Porter votes in the affirmative.
Senator Sampson?
Senator Sampson votes no.
Representative Aurora?
Aurora votes yes.
Representative.
Aurora votes yes.
Senator Cabrera?
Senator Cabrera votes yes.
Representative Sanchez?
Representative Sanchez votes yes.
Representative Anderson?
Representative Anderson votes yes.
Representative Hall?
Representative Hall votes yes.
Representative Hughes?
Representative Hughes votes yes.
Senator Lesser? Representative Bertigliano?
Bertigliano votes yes.
Representative Vargas?
Representative Vargas votes yes.
Representative Winkler?
Representative Winkler votes yes.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk, and we will hold the votes open at a time to be deemed as we near the close of this committee meeting. Moving on to item number 2, HB number 6376, an act creating a respectful and open world for natural hair.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, Robin, Representative Porter, I did get a text that, oh, there he is, Senator Lesser was in the waiting room when we were conducting the vote, so.
We will go back and Mr. Clerk, can you please call on Mr. Senator Lester? Yeah, it's late, Matt. Stay in the room.
Madam Chair, you can call me whatever you want.
Mighty Matt.
We're Roman numeral 3, bills for final action. Item 1, HB 5158, an act concerning breastfeeding in the workplace. JF to the floor. Senator Lesser?
Please count me in the affirmative.
Thank you, Senator Lester. Thank you, Devin. Moving on to item number 2, HB number 6376, and act creating a respectful and open world for natural hair. Can I get a motion, JFS,
So-
to the floor?
So move,
Second.
Representative Hughes.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, that was a motion by Representative Hughes, second by Representative Vargas. This bill makes it an illegal practice to discriminate based on hair texture and protective hairstyles in employment, public accommodations, housing, credit practices, union membership, and state agency practices. It does so by making traits historically associated with race, including hair texture and protective hairstyles, part of meaning race. Under the bill, protective hairstyles include braids, locks, and twists. It adds this to the existing human rights law under the jurisdiction of CHRO, the Commission on Human Rights and Opportunities. And CHRO has the authority to investigate these complaints of discriminatory practices. There is S language for this bill, LCO 3628, and the committee members should be in possession of this S language, and it simply specifies that protective hairstyles include wigs and head wraps, and that hairstyles include cornrows, bantu knots, afros, and afro puffs. The floor is now open for discussion or questions. Senator Sampson.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman.
You're welcome.
So I like your bill very much, and I think it's extremely well intentioned. But I do have a couple of questions for you, and I hope you don't mind. And I want you to understand that I'm asking these questions in an effort just to flesh out your bill and make sure that it is actually achieving its stated goal. I'm gathering from the testimony and your comments during the public hearing that what you're after is trying to protect hairstyles that are associated with someone's race. And I think that's quite clear. And if I'm looking at the language of the bill, lines 83 through 85 in the JFS language kind of go right to that. It says race is in, so we're making sure that you are not allowed to discriminate based on race, which makes perfect sense and is a long established protected class. And you're simply trying to say that ethnic traits that are associated with race, a skin color, for example, and hair texture is something that we ought to protect also. And I'm in complete agreement with you. The question I have is that when you go to lines 86 through 88, when you specify the hairstyles, I'm trying to figure out, are we only protecting these hairstyles for the races that they are associated with? Or would we be protecting hairstyles across the board? Do you see the difference in the question I'm asking?
Absolutely, and it's a good question, Senator Sampson. And if you go back to line 83, it says race is inclusive of ethnic traits historically associated with race. So I have friends that are white and they have locks. So if they are experiencing any kind of discrimination based on the fact that they have their hair locked, they are covered under this as well. So it's not specifically exclusively if you're Black or if you're brown. It is historically what is associated with ethnic traits. But we have Indian people. I mean, we have several people that I would consider non-Black that actually will lock their hair or bantu cornrows. You know, I'm going to school with many white young girls that I've actually cornrowed their hair. So like, no, it's not, we're not eliminating anyone from this bill, but we are stating that it is historically been, you know, Black and brown folks who have experienced this discrimination. And what is really sad, I'll take it one step further, is I've been in situations where it has been a white friend of mine and we rocked the same hairstyles, and I would get called out and sent home and she wouldn't. So even though the hairstyles may be shared across cultures, the treatment is not the same. There is still a disparate treatment when it comes to people of color and the way they wear their crown.
I understand completely, and thank you very much for that clarification, Madam Chairman. And not to question what you said, but I think the word historically is actually what's throwing me off, because I would suggest that if you're saying that a certain hairstyle is historically associated with a particular race, I think that might lead some people to believe that we're saying only if your particular race or the person in question's particular race historically had that hairstyle. And I think that's what threw me off to begin with. So all I would suggest is that before this bill comes to the Senate or the House for a vote, just a good solid look at the language to make sure that we have the right intention. I'm very much in agreement with what you have stated, and I would like to see the bill just drafted in a way where there's no question about what we mean.
So with that being said, Senator Sampson, what would be your suggestion? Because I think that it's quite clear.
I don't know that I could make a suggestion right this minute, but I will tell you that I think it is the word historically that threw me off. Just for example, I mean, we also mentioned wigs and head wraps, which I agree they should be protected, but I don't know that those wigs are historically associated with any particular race.
Well, it may not be historically associated with race, but it is a protective hairstyle that people of color choose to wear. The wig is to protect the natural hair. The wrap protects the natural hair. So that's where we come in with not just texture, but also hairstyles and protective hairstyles.
Understood. And again, I'm in complete agreement. Line 83 begins by saying race is inclusive of ethnic traits historically associated with race. So to me, I'm reading it that has to be the first condition that is met. And then we talk about the different hairstyles and so on that are associated with that. So anyway, just a suggestion. I was confused when I read it. Thank you for your clarification. I just want to make sure no one else has the same confusion I do in the future.
Duly noted. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
You're welcome. Representative Aurora.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know, when we started with the discussion, the most important element is that there should be no discrimination on race. And traditionally, as we feel or as we understand, that the hairstyle associated with race were completely covered under the race protection provided in the federal law, and which is something which is not an option for any employer whatsoever. But you know, I stand for if there is a clarification needed, as we heard from the public hearings, or if this is going to help, you know, I stand fully in support that discrimination based on race is something that has no place in our society, you know, and anything we do to eliminate it is a good thing. In this case, I do believe that there is some overlap with federal law, but so be it, because to the extent that it works even in iota to improve the situation of reducing discrimination, I am a big supporter of it, because that is something, a society which does not discriminate on those very 6 criteria defined in the law, you know, and race being possibly the most, or race being a very, very important one of those, is a good ideal goal. I strongly support, and I urge everyone to stand for this law, to support this bill. I think to the extent that we can make any improvement in reducing discrimination based on race and any traits which are associated with race, and I combine them all under the idea of race, I think we should support it. We should advocate for it. So thank you for bringing this bill up, and we'll be in full support of this bill. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Representative Aurora. I see no further hands. So I will ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Roman numeral 3. Item number 2, HB 6376, an act creating a respectful and open world for natural hair. JFS to the floor. Senator Kushner.
Senator Kushner votes yes.
Representative Porter.
Representative Porter proudly votes yes.
Senator Sampson,
Senator Sampson votes yes.
Representative Aurora,
Rep. Aurora votes yes.
Senator Cabrera,
Do whatever you want.
Senator Cabrera votes yes.
Senator Cabral, just asked if you can repeat. I couldn't see you on the screen, please.
Sure. Senator Cabrera votes yes.
Thank you. Representative Sanchez,
Representative Sanchez votes yes.
Representative Anderson,
Representative Anderson votes yes.
Representative Hall,
Representative Hall votes yes.
Representative Hughes,
Representative Hughes votes yes.
Senator Lesser,
Senator Lester votes yes.
Representative Retigliano,
Retigliano votes yes.
Representative Vargas,
Representative Vargas votes yes.
Representative Winkler,
Representative Winkler votes yes.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Moving on to item number 3, HB number 6378. An act codifying prevailing wage, contract rates. JF to the floor. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved. Kushner
Second.
moves.
Second.
So we got a motion by Senator Kushner, a second by Representative Hall. And this bill revises the method the Labor Commissioner must use to set prevailing wage rates for public work projects. The current law allows the commissioner to set the rates in one of two ways: one on his own, after holding a hearing to determine the prevailing wage rate, including benefits on any public work within a specified area, and B, establishing classifications of skilled, semi-skilled, and ordinary labor, or 2, by adopting and using the applicable prevailing wage rate determinations and ordinary determinations made by the Federal Labor Secretary for federal prevailing wage law. In practice, the Labor Commissioner uses the federally determined rates. Any comments, questions, or discussion? Representative Anderson.
Madam Chair, I am undecided on this because I saw that STEM Cost both said that this would raise their costs. And then at least one business association or the Mason contractors, thought it would not raise costs and it would improve business efficiencies. So if any of my colleagues can shed any light on either of those or the OLR, I'd appreciate it.
OLR. I'm sorry. I didn't see Senator Kushner's hand. I will give her the floor, and if anything is left, I will ask for you to come back and speak, Ms. Hanson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't believe the bill expressly determines, goes to the heart of the question that was asked by Representative Anderson. I believe we heard testimony on both sides of this issue, and I think ultimately it's up to us as lawmakers to determine which testimony we credit. And I think we have to do that oftentimes. But as far as my understanding from the testimony I heard is that ultimately this is not going to raise costs because in fact, it is codifying an approach that is already in practice, both at the federal level and also here at the state level. And so for that reason, I don't believe it's going to cause increased costs to towns and other to towns and cities. But I don't think you'll see anywhere in the bill that it actually specifically addresses cost. I hope that is, a good enough clarification for you, Representative Anderson. And I know you asked OLR, and if OLR wants to weigh in on it, but I don't see anything in the bill that would determine.
Thank you,
Hi.
Senator Kushner. Yes, I'm sorry, Lee.
It's John from
Oh,
OLR. Hi.
Sorry.
That's okay. I was just going to say that OLR, we just write up a nonpartisan legal analysis of the bill, but when it goes to the House floor, OFA will write a fiscal note on it. And when they do that, they write a nonpartisan fiscal note, and they will say whether they think it has a fiscal impact for municipalities. So that you would get more information on that point at that point in the process. Does that make sense?
Mr. Moore, thank you. That helps.
Thanks.
Any further questions, Representative Anderson?
Madam Chair, no, I'm satisfied. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Representative Aurora.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I would like to address Representative Anderson's question as well in my comments and discussion on this bill. Reading through the methodology, it is very clear this is, as I would say, a wolf in sheep's clothing. The process is being changed with union dominance wages getting a bigger weight. And so it certainly will change the wages, the prevailing wages. Now, it stays to question as to how much it would change on the upside, because if there is clearly no non-union contractors in a certain profession, as was mentioned, this is going to go across professions and geographies, then the change is going to be small. I looked at it in a very technical manner because it's a technical bill. There is no point, that there is not much philosophical bill, it's a technical bill. And I spent a lot of time thinking through it technically, and I'm glad that OFA will also give an opinion at some point. But at this point, I would be safely argue that the way the bill is written, it would lead to a change in a subtle change in, let me use that word, a subtle change in methodology, which can only take things up, and we heard the same from some of the folks who are being impacted by it. And once again, they said, we don't know how much, but it could be 1%, it could be 10%, it depends upon the area, it depends upon the profession or the trade. And so I think, and that's what also throws me off, that it is being professed as being done just for a procedural reason, but it looks like it has got an upside to certain trades and certain professions, and is done with that in some sense implicit or underlying reason. So which really also troubles me that our committee, or we might be getting played here. So I strongly urge that I strongly urge that my colleagues not vote for this bill. I will not be voting for this bill. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Representative Aurora. Senator Sampson.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I just want to follow up and agree with my colleague, Representative Aurora. I was originally very sympathetic to this bill. The way it was pitched to me was that we were restoring some element of local control versus leaving everything up to the federal government to establish these rates. And sometimes they don't do it in a timely manner. But just going through the history of this legislation, I understand the reason why it originally appeared was during the Trump presidency, because there was some concern that the Trump administration might adversely affect union dominance rates. And obviously that didn't happen, but the bill's still before us. And my concern really is that I'm seeing a lot of union labor very much behind this bill. And they have to have a reason for that. Now, I don't object to them making more money or being successful. But I think the reason why they're behind it is because what's happening is we are actually eliminating the ability for municipalities to be part of this process. This bill takes out the public hearing process that municipalities can engage in. And I understand it's not common practice for that to happen, but it is in the law, and it is something that could happen and would allow municipalities to have some impact on the determination of these rates. I just think this is the wrong way to go. I think we should be enabling our towns to have proper negotiations when it comes to union labor. And this bill goes in the exact opposite direction. If you're concerned about making Connecticut an affordable and attractive place to live that has reasonable property taxes, this bill is the opposite of that. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Sampson. Senator Kushner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will speak briefly. I already spoke to answer a question, but I do want to say that I believe this is work that is being done in our state, that it's being done by hardworking people who I trust and believe in. And, you know, I do believe that if, in fact, it was going to cost more money as has been projected, I think that we would have been made aware of that. I don't believe that that's the case. I also want to remind people that we had a number of contractors, employers, who spoke up during the public hearing and testified how this would be good for the employer side as well. And so I do urge all of my colleagues to support this bill and vote in favor of JFing it to the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Kushner. And I was going to make the same comment that we did have several contractors come before us. And this is actually seen as a way to alleviate the delay that is experienced and holds up contractors from being able to get paid and pay workers. So I was going to say with that, but I see Representative Aurora for the second time.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for indulging in me for the second time. The only reason I stand to speak here is to point out the conflict which exists with contractors. Contractors typically pass on prevailing wages and even at times on top of that, a small management fee to towns and municipalities. So it is technically in their interest to have higher prevailing wages, even if they are not themselves doing the job. If they are hiring, let's say a contractor hires 5 other subs or other folks who tradesmen who work for under the contract, the typical way it gets billed is basically prevailing wage plus a small percentage fee. So a higher prevailing wage leads to a higher fee and a higher profit. So, you know, to consider that as a testimony, as a indicator that this is not increasing wages is perhaps again, you know, a little naive. I think they should be, that is their book, that is their point of view, that helps them. So they should be asking for, as a matter of fact, the fact that they're promoting it implies that there must be something out there that it's increasing cost to municipalities and it's not a fair trade or a like for like, just a process change. Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you, Representative Aurora. Just double checking. I see no further hands. So I will ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Roman numeral 3, bills for final action. Item number 3, HB number 6378, an act codifying prevailing rates, contract rates, JF to the floor. Senator Kushner.
Senator Kushner votes yes.
Representative Porter.
Representative Porter votes in the affirmative.
Senator Sampson.
Senator Sampson votes no.
Representative Aurora.
Rep Aurora votes no.
Senator Cabrera.
Senator Cabrera votes yes.
Representative Sanchez.
Representative Sanchez votes yes.
Representative Anderson.
Representative Anderson votes no.
Representative Hall.
Representative Hall votes yes.
Representative Hughes.
Representative Hughes votes yes.
Senator Lesser. Representative Ritigliano.
Bertigliano votes yes.
Representative Vargas,
Representative Vargas votes yes.
Representative Winkler.
Representative Winkler votes yes.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Moving on to item number 4, HB 6380, an act concerning the disclosure of salary range for a vacant position. JF to the floor. This bill will require employers to provide a job applicant with the wage range of the position for which the applicant is applying. It also broadens the standard used to determine whether an employer is discriminating in the amount of compensation it pays to an employee based on sex, and by sex, examples would be gender wage discrimination. So there's 2 parts that wage range disclosure, and it addresses the gender wage discrimination under current law. Any comments or questions? Did I make a motion?
No, you didn't, but
I'm so tired. I'm so tired. I just realized. So can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We'll say moved by Representative Vargas and second by, is that Representative
Sanchez.
Sanchez? And I don't know why y'all are moving on my panel. This is like, oof. Okay. Senator Sampson.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I didn't really think about what I might say when I had to comment on this bill, but I did know that I was voting no on it. Yeah, I got to tell you, Madam Chairman, you know, when I see bills like this on our agenda, it really makes me question whether or not my colleagues understand the notion of limited government and freedom and opportunity that our country was founded on. I understand the desire to protect against any, what's the word I'm looking for, predatory, efforts by employers, that kind of thing. But I want to remind everyone that a work arrangement, an employee-employer arrangement, is a voluntary thing. You know, we heard a lot of public hearing testimony today and the other day when we were talking about these bills, where a lot of people came before us. There's a lot of feedback again, Madam Chairman. I'm having trouble keeping my train of thought. Can we get folks to mute? We're not speaking.
I'm the only one that's not muted, so let me mute Senator Sampson. I'm sorry, you may be hearing my phone.
It's totally fine. It's just, it's very distracting when you're trying to speak. At any rate, we heard a lot of testimony today, and when we had the hearing on this particular bill, and a lot of people who come at it from the employee perspective repeat the words saying that their employers force them to do this and that all the time, and it always strikes me as odd because no one is forced to do anything in our society. There's no one who's forced to have a job. It's a choice every day, and if you don't like the terms of your employment, you try and negotiate that with your employer, or you quit and you find another job. Employers in our society don't have that luxury. They are often, have their hands tied on how they have to treat that employer relationship. And this particular situation is just completely unfair. An employer might have many, many reasons for offering a different pay wage for a position than they have in the past. Their financial situation may be different. If I'm a restaurant right now after COVID and my business is completely decimated, I might not have the ability to afford the quality of management that I had in the past. So what used to be a $100,000 job working for my restaurant might be a $50,000 job now. And that's a perfectly legitimate reason, and it's no one's business except for that business owner. And I think it's completely unfair to put this bill on our agenda in a way to imply that businesses that are not willing to offer the same wage range that they had in the past are up to something. People are also individuals, Madam Chairman. Every person is a different person. And therefore, when people get hired for employment, their job is often different than their predecessor's job, just because they're a different person. They might bring a different skill set to that occupation. They might bring different talents, and the negotiation may be entirely different. We have another bill on our agenda about whether employees should be compensated for using their phone or their car and things like that. Well, that may be part of this transaction and negotiation also. I just suggest that we need to recognize that these types of policies are damaging our economy in our state. If I was considering opening a business in the state, and I will tell you, by the way, that I'm a self-employed real estate agent for a reason in Connecticut, and that is because I came to two realizations over the last couple of decades. One, I don't want to be an employer in Connecticut because it's too hard. And number two, I don't want to be an employee in Connecticut because it's too hard. Those things are a result of the policies passed on our state government. And I'm not the only one saying it. There are people leaving this state every day for different states because of those reasons. There are people not expanding their businesses, and there are people that will move away and start their businesses in other states for those reasons. This bill is unnecessary, unfair. It makes a very, very poor implication. And it furthers something that is a real problem in our legislature, which is this attitude that the employer-employee relationship should be adversarial. It should not. Most of these things are things that employers and employees work out every day because they understand that they have to work together for both of them to succeed. And when people are in a bad situation, they have the freedom to choose another option, to go look for another job. This is unnecessary, Madam Chairman. I urge people to vote against this type of policy. It does not reflect the freedom our country was based on. Every policy that we see before us in this committee is usually a choice between freedom and force. And this particular policy is all about force, the force of government, interfering in something that it shouldn't. I prefer freedom to let people decide on their own and work together for solutions. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Simpson. That was chock full of some stuff, I tell you. And I do respect your perspective. I mean, this is where we disagree again. You said several things that I really don't agree with. And I think that the purpose of this legislation is really to level the playing field. You know, when we talk about employees and employers, the people I know don't have an option. You know, being an employee is what they're going to be. Most people don't have the luxury of making the choice that you made. And I applaud you for that. I wish more people were in a position to say, you know what, I don't want to be an employee and I don't want to be an employer. So I'm going to start my own business and be successful, because I know people that start businesses and they're not successful. There's so many barriers when you talk about it. And then there's the gender wage gap, the pay equity gap, especially when it comes to women in this country. So when you talk about the freedom that this country was founded on, I'm conflicted, because I know this country, it wasn't founded on my freedom. And my people are still struggling to make ends meet. And you can't educate your way out of it. You can't status your way out of it. There's going to always be a disparity. So what we're doing here in law is trying to undo some of the structurally racist things that have been done in law to keep certain people back. And it's women, and it's people of color, it's poor people, and the system this is the way it's been set up. And we came to this because we had constituents and people from this state that voted us into office come to us with these issues. So when we look to do laws and put forth legislation, please understand that a lot of this is coming from the people that we represent. And they come before this committee and they testify and they tell us these things. So there are exceptions to the rule, no doubt. And I mean, for me, in the world I live in, you are the exception to the rule, Senator Sampson. So I like I said, I will, respectfully disagree with you. The fact that you say people are moving out of the state, everybody that I'm talking to, especially folks in Waterbury, are telling me the influx of people that are coming into the state. There are a lot of people moving into this state, even here in New Haven. We got people moving in from out of state that want to be in Connecticut. And I just think that, it should be a level playing field. And that thing you're talking about with employees and employers is ideal. That's ideal, but it's not realistic. It's not the experience of a lot of people that have come before us to ask that we put forth this kind of legislation. Representative, and I'm not sure, I think it was Representative Aurora and then Senator Kushner. Representative Aurora, I think you're up next.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have been and I have I've been in employer's role for many, many years, and I've been in an employee's role for many, many years. And I can tell you that we have to trust the fact that most employers work in good faith. There are always bad actors. And this idea that most employers are bad people kind of permeates this committee for whatever reason. And it's that they are always trying to take advantage and exploit employees. I'll tell you, the best resource, the only way to build a business is to attract good talent. Assets come, cost of capital, fortunately in our environment is low if you have talent. If you don't have talent with you, there's no capital available for you, right? And I speak that from experience. I came to this country with nothing, literally just a bag 29 years ago. I knew not a soul here. And, through education, through one opportunity, another, that's where here we are. So I do say that that undue interference in that employer-employee relationship does not benefit. Now, let me point out the real objection I have to this bill. As you've seen from my voting already so far, if it does no harm, I'm okay with it, even if it doesn't agree with my philosophy. And that's where, sometimes I have a significant debate with my colleagues. I'm not a philosophy purist, so as to say. But this bill can do a lot of harm. The road to good places sometimes, or road to bad places sometimes, is marked with some great intentions. The reason is, just think aside a little more, what does an employer do when you put a bill like this? You anchor down. So you anchor down, and then when you get the right person, you pay them up, because you're not gonna complain. No bill is gonna complain, hey, if I advertised something for 80 to 100 and then I paid somebody 105 or 110, I don't think anybody's gonna complain. I found somebody exceptional. What are you gonna say? I'm paying over, right? So the whole idea is you're gonna be anchoring all jobs down. There is gonna be more game playing. You're reducing fairness. And I love it when people say, well, this is what you interview with someone, or you interview someone and you say, well, I'm gonna ready to pay you this much and these perks, and I want you to come. And then you play that cat and mouse game. You really want them to come work for you, and you feel so good when they say yes. And I've had folks at various talent levels and various capacities, and my viewpoint is this is something, a law not necessary, will create more friction, will have a lot of unintended consequences. I had suggested during the hearing and asked that what if we really put a cap on the implementation of that law to a certain number, so that, let's say, I read some states had it up to, for jobs paying under $50,000, 1.5 times minimum wage or 2 times minimum wage, and that would still be less prone to gameplay and unintended consequences. So I really urge you not to vote for this bill, because it may lead to harm. At least let's not do any harm. Many times, as legislators, we are not in capacity to solve the problems of the world. But when we do harm, it's on us, that we could have done nothing, and life could have been better for our people, for our communities. And in this one, especially when you go beyond a certain number, the risk of harm, if you think through this, if you do what they call behavioral play, the risk is too high. And so I think this is a law which a bill which has got great intentions, but has a risk of doing some really bad things. And I urge, at least at the minimum, a change to the levels for a limit, but I actually suggest that we just drop this bill, and I urge my colleagues to vote against this bill for those reasons, to prevent harm to our communities and our hardworking citizens. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Representative Aurora. And I will just say that much of the testimony that was given would beg to differ with that statement. And I think they would see us doing nothing as doing harm. Senator Kushner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It is really clear to me that we all bring our life experience to this work as a legislator, and our experiences have been different, and that does shape our views and our values. I also recognize that we gain a lot of information from public hearings, and with regard to this bill, we did get some very important testimony about why it's necessary to legislate to stop discrimination. And I joined the labor force a long time ago, probably close to 50 years ago, and spent 42 of those years working directly with employers and with workers, negotiating contracts. And I can tell you in my experience, while I totally agree with my colleagues who say not all employers are bad, I totally agree. I have worked with many in the union context and in the non-union context, members of my own family who are employers. They're not all bad, but there are enough employers that discriminate that we have historically had a world in which women and people of color are paid less than white men. And it's a problem. And it's our responsibility as legislators to do something to fix that. And that's why I do support this proposed bill. I do want to point out that on line 18, there is a provision that would allow for one of the concerns that was raised to be addressed, because it allows that stating the wage range can be determined on a number of different criteria, including the final one, employer's budgeted amount for the position. So I think that does address one of the concerns, and I don't think that's going to be persuasive to change the minds of my colleagues, but I did want to point that out because I think that was intentional to address a situation where an employer, their conditions might have changed since the last employee was holding that job. Ultimately, I believe strongly that this is a bill designed to address wage inequality. It has been my experience when workers know what salary is of coworkers, ending any kind of salary secrecy has been one of the ways in which people have moved forward, and we have ended discrimination, which unfortunately has historically been part of our countries and most countries' economic history. And so I hope this bill will receive all the support from our committee and move forward, and that we will take another step towards more equity in what workers are paid. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Kushner. Senator Sampson for the second time.
Thank you for recognizing me, Madam Chairman. I don't mean to speak twice on every bill, but you did address me directly in your response. And I understand that our legislative committee process is not really conducive to a back and forth dialogue. And maybe that's a shame, because I think there is probably some tremendous benefit that we might get from actually debating these issues in a real debate, rather than I say something, you say something, and that's that. I will just suggest very briefly that going forward, I hope that we do get to flesh out our ideas. My opinion is that no one will ever, should ever be classified as always determined to just be an employee. I have great faith in every person, regardless of their background. I grew up in the inner city myself. My parents were not wealthy. I'm still not a wealthy person. But I think I've been successful, maybe in excess of where I started from. And I think anybody can achieve that. And what needs to happen for that to happen is that I believe that people need to know that they are starting from the same place with equal opportunity. And I think when government gets involved in creating an unlevel platform, even if it's in the quest for something like equity, you have to do the potential damage of, dividing people and mischaracterizing people based on subjective things like race and color. And I think that's just dangerous. I would also add that I think the greatest thing that America provides is true free market capitalism, where production raises the quality of life for everyone. And when we impose things that reduce production because we are limiting the amount of commerce that exists, we're actually lowering the quality of life for people. And again, I just wanted to say that briefly, and hopefully we will get to talk about these things in much more detail as our debates go on throughout the year. And thank you very much for your indulgence, Madam Chairman.
You're very welcome, Senator Sampson, and I hope the same, and not just debating in this forum, but I would love to sit down and have a cup of coffee with you, because lived experience matters. And I wish that what you just said was true. And I also wish, and I mean this sincerely, I am not trying to be facetious, I wish just for maybe 1 month, you could live in my skin. And then you would see it from my perspective that, yeah, the ideology that you speak of is not my reality, and it's not the reality of the people that look like me. And that is the history in this country. But I really do want to sit down and have, a deeper conversation with you regarding all of these issues and how they play into what it is, I come to the table and push for as far as legislation, because it's rooted and grounded in real life concerns of people that look like me. Thank you. And you raised your hand again, so I'm going to call you again. Senator Sampson.
You're on for that coffee date anytime you like, Madam Chairman. I'm with you, and I will just remind everyone that it is in fact the dream of this country, the dream of our founders, whether they lived it or not, but they put it on paper, that all men are created equal, and the dream of many people since, including Martin Luther King Jr. and you and me, I'm sure, that people are treated equally under the law and everyone has equal opportunity. I think we're all working towards that goal, Madam Chairman. I don't want to lose sight of it by passing too many laws. Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna just say 3/5, and I'm gonna leave it there, because we're not gonna have that debate tonight. But we were 3/5 in your Constitution. Let's see. We have no further hands, so I'm gonna ask the good clerk of this committee to please call the roll.
Roman numeral 3, bills for final action. Item number 4, HB number 6380, an act concerning the disclosure of salary range for a vacant position. JF to the floor. Senator Kushner.
Senator Kushner votes yes.
Representative Porter.
Representative Porter votes in the affirmative.
Senator Sampson.
Senator Sampson votes no.
Representative Aurora.
Rep. Aurora is a no.
Senator Cabrera.
Senator Cabrera votes yes.
Representative Sanchez.
Representative Sanchez votes yes.
Representative Anderson.
Rep. Anderson votes no.
Representative Hall.
Representative Hall votes yes.
Representative Hughes.
Representative Hughes votes yes.
Senator Lesser. Representative Vitigliano.
Vitigliano votes no.
Representative Vargas.
Representative Vargas votes yes.
Representative Winkler.
Representative Winkler votes yes.
Thank you. Thank you to Devin, our clerk, and we will hold the votes open as was stated earlier, and we'll announce the time they'll be held open to at the conclusion of this committee meeting. Moving on to item number 5, House Bill number 6381, an act establishing a task force regarding, sorry, I know you might not be able to hear me when my head is turned away, so I'll start over. House Bill number 6381, an act establishing a task force regarding the state workforce and retiring employees. Action to be taken is JF to the floor. Let me summarize the bill. This bill creates an 18-member task force to study the state workforce and retiring state employees. The task force must submit its report with recommendations not later than January 1st, 2022 to the Labor and Public Employees and Government Elections and Administrations Committee. The report must include a review of the following. 1, the number of managerial and exempt employees that are eligible to retire from the convening of the task force through the end of calendar year 2022. 2, succession planning of executive branch agencies in preparation for retirements. And 3, barriers to recruitment into the managerial and exempt workforce, including A, parity in pay structure compared to employees and collective bargaining units. 2, B, parity in healthcare insurance contributions compared to employees and collective bargaining unions. C, salary compression and inversion among managerial and union employees. And D, opportunities for professional development and continuing education. The task force is chaired by the co-chairs and includes the following members. 1, GAE committee chairs. 2, OPM secretary or her designee. 3, the 6 legislative leaders each appoint a member, and 4 labor committee co-chairs appoint 7 additional members. Other than the legislative members, appointees must have experience as detailed in the bill in labor relations, labor management, or a certain class of state employee. And the S language is LCO 3626, and that just fixed some dates, changes to the first date in line 64. It was originally at 2023, but should have been at 2022. And the S language reflects that change so as to address the what we've been calling the retirement cliff properly. So do I hear a motion?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Is there a second?
Representative Hughes will second it.
Thank you. So that was moved by Representative Vargas and seconded by Representative Hughes. Is there any discussion on the motion? Give me a minute. I see Representative Rutigliano.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, the Republicans on the committee recognize the importance of a task force such as this. We also recognize that this is an important issue going forward. It should be addressed and it should be studied, and that we are all for the commission. Our problem lies with the makeup of the committee. We think it's unfair that of 18 positions on the committee, 16 are appointed by one party. We are asking respectively that if the chairs would consider a more balanced, not 50-50 balanced, but a more balanced committee, then we would be willing, well, it would make it, you'd get more votes is basically what I'm saying. I'm saying it would be more palatable to us and we would appreciate the offer. Because as it stands right now, there are 2 non-majority members of the committee. We thought maybe a 10-8 split would be more appropriate, but we would defer to anything you might think.
Thank you, Representative Liano. I don't see any other hands at this time. What I would say is that there is a motion to JS this to the floor. Representative, as to your suggestion for a change in the committee makeup, I do think that we will have an opportunity after action is taken. You know that there are opportunities before a bill actually goes to the chamber to work out agreement amendments. And I appreciate your theoretical support for this and your view that it's an important and I would encourage you to continue those discussions with us and we can look to getting this bill done. So I do want to, I'm sorry, you'll have to And for a second time, and I will call on you a second time, but I did see a hand by Representative Aurora.
I thought you were kind of answering my question, Madam Chair, and I was going to ask another one, but I understand.
I'll come back to you, but Representative Aurora.
No, I think I might be be following up on Rep. Frutigliano's comment and question that would make it very that would create a lot of consensus, because from the public hearing you would have noticed that we are all wanting some degree of analysis and work to be done on this subject. But as Representative Frutigliano pointed out, that when we discussed it in amongst our members, it's very clear that this really is not a fair makeup. So to the extent that we could rectify that, I think there would be good support from our side, if not very strong support. And that would also lead to a vigorous, a much balanced and more productive task force, so should we say. And I think I'm not going to repeat what Rep. Frutigliano said, but I think that would be very helpful. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Okay, your hand, but I will go back to Representative Frutigliano. I understood that you wanted to.
Thank you, Madam. Well, I had done everything but fall short of making a motion for an amendment, which I didn't do because I figured we'd have a discussion first, or I'd throw it out there first. I mean, I do believe that I have the right to do that and then have a vote amongst the committee to see if they actually agree with our point saying that the committee should be more balanced. And as you know how the building works and how the legislative works, this bill coming out unanimously out of committee would have a much easier time in the chamber than if they see a whole bunch of no votes, which slows it down. So I make that offer. I would defer to my colleagues if they'd like to make a motion for an amendment to the bill to just be more balanced membership of the committee. And I haven't made that motion just yet, Madam Chair. I was hoping that you would maybe agree or make it a little bit more of a bipartisan process.
Thank you, Representative Frutigliano, and I do appreciate your efforts here and the way you raised this. What I would suggest is that we pause the meeting for a moment. But before we do that, I want to be sure that I am clear about what you had suggested, not as a motion, I understand, but what you had suggested about what would be acceptable to your caucus.
Would you like me to answer that now, ma'am, or did you want to talk if we pause?
No, I would like you to answer that now, and then we'll recess for.
Listen, I recognize that the majority, you are in the majority, and so it's an 18-member committee. It's 16-18 written now. We thought 10-8 in your favor would be fair. You would still clearly have the majority of the picks, but slightly more balanced than it is right now.
Thank you. So I am going to, we will recess the meeting briefly and reconvene at the call of the chair. I would ask all of you to take a pause, and we'll get back to you in a few minutes. So I'm going to
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I know that for those of members who may have missed votes, will the clerk take the count votes while the caucuses are meeting?
That's a great suggestion. We've done that in the past in this committee and another committee. So we are going to recess briefly and go to caucus. And then during that time, if the clerk will take votes from folks who may have missed a vote, I would appreciate it. So at this moment, it's 8:49, and I would suggest that I don't believe this is going to be a terribly long recess. So I think folks should check back in 10 minutes, and hopefully we'll be back by then. So at this moment, it is now 8:49, and I will recess the meeting of the Labor and Public Employees Committee. Thank you.
Senator Lesser. And then
Mr. Clerk, are there votes that I missed? I believe there's at least one, maybe more than one.
there are two, and I'll go over them now with you. The first one is Roman numeral 3, bill for final action, item 3, HB 6378, an act codifying prevailing wage contract rates, JF to the floor.
Please count me in.
Senator
Senator Lesser in the affirmative.
Thank you.
Baby Lesser.
The next one is Roman numeral 3, bills for final action, item number 4, HB number 6380, an act concerning the disclosure of salary range for a vacant position, JF to the floor. Senator Lesser?
Senator Lesser in the affirmative.
Thank you. Those were the two.
Thank you.
Hello?
Yes, sorry, Chris. Please disregard that notification.
This is Ed Vargas. I'm here. This is Representative Vargas here.
Thank you, Representative Vargas.
The meeting hasn't started yet, has it?
The meeting is actually in recess at the moment, Representative Vargas.
So it's still recessed.
Yes.
Yeah, Rep Vargas, check the WhatsApp app.
We are, I'm just waiting to make sure folks are here. So if you wouldn't mind and turn on your camera so I have a good idea of who's actually back in the room, I would appreciate it. I see my co-chair and I see our vice chairs and I see Representative Aurora, Representative Ritigliano is here, Representative Anderson. I don't see Senator Sampson, but I'm hoping he's there. There you are.
Yes, ma'am. I never left.
So I think, I know we have, I'll just wait. I see that Senator Lesser is connecting. And Representative Vargas, I see his picture there, but
Yes, I'm here.
yes, you are there.
Yep.
We can't hear you, Representative Vargas. You're still muted.
Can you hear me now?
I think you're having trouble with your audio.
I heard him no problem, Madam Chair.
As well.
I don't hear anybody. Oh, it's me. I'm sorry. You know, sometimes I click that button that turns off the audio so that I can make a phone call and I forget to turn it back on. You're all talking and I'm not hearing anybody. So I apologize for that. I did see Representative Vargas's square light up. So I know he's there. So thank you. We are prepared now to reconvene. So Devin, I assume we are live. So for members of the public, thank you for indulging our pause. We are now back reconvening the meeting of the committee, the Labor and Public Employees Committee. It is now 9:47, and we will take up the discussion where we left off on item number 5, an act establishing a task force regarding the state workforce and retiring employees. There is a motion on the floor and a second to JFS this to the floor. Is there any more discussion? I'm looking for hands and I don't see any.
Madam Chair, this is Rich Hanratty, LCO. Is that proposed substitute LCO number 3626 that you were referring to?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, I probably should have read that off earlier. If I didn't, I apologize. So we will be looking at proposed substitute bill number for 6381, LCO number 3626. And there is a motion on the floor and I don't see any hands. So I will ask the clerk to take a roll call vote.
Number 3, bills for final action, item number 5. HB number 6381, an act establishing a task force regarding the state workforce and retiring employees. JFS to the floor. Senator Kushner.
Senator Kushner votes yes.
Representative Porter.
Representative Porter votes in the affirmative.
Senator Sampson.
Senator Sampson votes no.
Representative Aurora.
Rep. Aurora is a no.
Senator Cabrera.
Senator Cabrera is a yes.
Representative Sanchez.
Rep. Sanchez is a yes.
Representative Anderson.
Rep. Anderson, no.
Representative Hall.
Representative Hall, yes.
Representative Hall, could you repeat that one more time? I don't think the camera caught you.
Representative Hall, yes.
Thank you. Representative Hughes.
Representative Hughes votes yes.
Senator Lesser.
Senator Lesser votes yes.
Representative Ritigliano.
Sadly, Ritigliano's a no.
Representative Vargas.
Representative Vargas votes yes.
Representative Winkler,
Representative Winkler votes yes.
Sorry, the clerk will hold open all votes until the conclusion of this meeting when we will announce a time for folks to cast their votes. And so we will move on the agenda to item number 6. And I see Representative Porter is here. Do you want to resume the chairing? I'm okay if you want me to continue. Okay, item number 6. That is House Bill 6382, an act strengthening the probate court system. The action on this bill is to JF it to the floor. Do I hear a motion?
So moved. Senator Gloucester.
That was moved.
Motion by Senator.
It was moved by Senator Lesser and seconded by Representative Porter. And is there any discussion? Oh, let me read you the summary. I know, I'm getting a little ahead of myself here. This bill provides collective bargaining, i.e. unionizing rights to probate court employees. Current law does not permit them to collectively bargain. Under the bill, these employees are considered state employees for collective bargaining purposes only, subject to the state employee collective bargaining law. The bill also eliminates a provision that specifies that these employees serve at the pleasure of the probate court judge under whom they are employed. Presumably, they will remain at-will employees until they have a collective bargaining agreement. The state employee collective bargaining law establishes provisions for 1, selecting an exclusive bargaining agent for collective bargaining, 2, holding an election to form a union, 3, mandatory negotiations, 4, mandatory binding arbitration when a negotiation impasse is declared, and 5, other steps and mechanisms related to bargaining and arbitration. So that is the motion. Are there any hands for discussion? Seeing none, there's a motion on the floor. And will the clerk take the roll?
Item number 3, bills for final action. Item number 6, HB number 6382, an act strengthening the probate court system, JF to the floor. Senator Kushner.
Senator Kushner votes yes.
Representative Porter.
Representative Porter votes in the affirmative.
Senator Sampson.
Senator Sampson votes no.
Representative Aurora.
Aurora is a no.
Senator Cabrera.
Senator Cabrera is a yes.
Representative Sanchez.
Sanchez is a yes.
Representative Anderson.
Rep. Anderson, no.
Representative Hall.
Representative Hall, yes.
Representative Hughes.
Representative Hughes is a yes.
Senator Lesser.
Senator Lesser is a yes.
Representative Ritigliano.
Tigliano's a no.
Representative Vargas.
Representative Vargas votes yes.
Representative Winkler.
Representative Winkler votes yes.
Sorry about that. Thank you.
You're on mute, Julie.
Yes, I keep doing that. I'm trying to avoid the background noise, but then I forget to go back on. Thank you for calling the roll. We will move to the next item on the agenda, which is item number 7, the HB number 6383, an act concerning call centers and notice of closures. And let me read you the summary of that bill. Give me 1 second. This bill establishes notice requirements for certain call centers that relocate out of state and makes them ineligible to receive state financial support for 5 years after the relocation. They must also remit the value of any state financial support they received over the previous 5 years. The bill applies to call centers that employ at least 50 employees to staff a call center. The counted employees are employees who, 1, work at least 20 hours per week or have been employed by the center for at least 6 months, or 2, work at least 1,500 hours in the aggregate, excluding overtime per week. The bill also establishes certain in-state requirements for state contractors who perform state business-related call center and customer service work. Relocation notice. The bill requires covered call centers that intend to relocate out of the state to notify the labor commissioner at least 100 days before doing so. This applies to relocations of call center facilities or operations that comprise at least 30% of a call center's or operating unit's total call volume over the previous 12 months. The bill subjects violators to a civil penalty of up to $10,000 per day for each violation, but allows the commissioner to reduce the penalty for just cause. Loss of state financial support. The bill requires the labor commissioner to compile an annual list of call centers whose relocation was subject to the bill's notice requirement. Under the bill, a call center on the list 1 is eligible for direct or indirect state grants, state guaranteed loans, state tax benefits, or other state financial support for 5 years after the list is published, and 2, must remit the unamortized value of any state grant, guaranteed loan, state tax benefit, or other state financial support it received in the 5-year period before it was placed on the list. The bill allows the commissioner, in consultation with the appropriate agency, to waive the remittance requirement if the center shows that the remittance would threaten state or national security, result in substantial job loss to the state, or harm the environment. The bill also specifies that it does not prevent an employer from receiving a grant to provide training or other employment assistance to people who particularly need such training or employment assistance due to the call center's relocation. State contractor requirements. The bill also establishes certain in-state requirements for state contractors who perform state business-related call center and customer service work. It requires the head of each state agency to ensure that all new contracts or agreements entered into on or after October 1, 2021, all state business-related call center and customer service is worked by state contractors or other agents or subcontractors entirely within the state. If any of these entities perform work outside the state and add customer service employees who will perform work under the new contracts or agreements, the bill requires the new employees to be immediately employed within the state. In addition, any businesses subject to a contract or agreement before October 1, 2021, with terms that extend beyond October 1, 2023, must meet these in-state requirements if their contract is renewed. Other provisions. The bill also specifies that it does not, 1, permit withholding or denial of payments, compensation, or benefits under any other state laws, for example, unemployment or workers' compensation, and 2, create a private cause of action against any employer who violates the bill's provisions. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
So seconded, Rep. Hughes.
So it's moved by Representative Porter and seconded by Rep.
You're muted.
Seeing no hands, then I'll ask the clerk to take a roll call vote.
Roman numeral 3, bills for final action. Item number 7, HB number 6383, an act concerning call centers and notice of closures. Day up to the floor. Senator Kushner.
Senator Kushner votes yes.
Representative Porter.
Representative Porter votes in the affirmative.
Senator Sampson.
Senator Sampson votes no.
Representative Aurora.
Rep. Aurora votes no.
Senator Cabrera.
Senator Cabrera votes yes.
Representative Sanchez.
Representative Sanchez votes yes.
Representative Anderson.
Rep. Anderson votes no.
Representative Hall.
Representative Hall votes yes.
Representative Hughes.
Representative Hughes votes yes.
Senator Lesser.
Senator Lesser, aye.
Representative Ritigliano,
Ritigliano votes no.
Representative Vargas,
Representative Vargas votes yes.
Representative Winkler.
Winkler votes yes.
Thank you. And we will hold the votes open until the conclusion of this meeting, and then we'll announce the opportunity for members to cast their vote. The last bill that we are taking up, item number 8, is Senate Bill number 836, an act concerning permanent partial disability and pension offsets. The action is to JFS it to the floor. And this bill prohibits municipal or special taxing district pension systems from diminishing or eliminating a retiree's right of benefits due to the retiree's receipt of workers' compensation for permanent partial disability benefits on or after October 1, 2021. The bill specifies that its prohibition, 1, applies regardless of any state law, special act, charter, home rule ordinance, local ordinance, or other local law, and 2, does not interfere with, impede, or diminish provisions of any collective bargaining agreement negotiated under the Municipal Employees Collective Bargaining Law and in effect before October 1, 2021. The S language that we are adopting is LCO number 3624, which changes the date thresholds applicable to receiving benefits collective bargaining agreements from October 1, 2020 to October 1, 2021.
So move, Madam Chairwoman.
It's moved by Representative Vargas and seconded by Representative Porter. Is there, I see a hand, Senator Sampson.
Thank you for the recognition, Madam Chairman. So the bill that's before us, I had to do a lot of digging to really understand what was going on here. But apparently right now, the unions and municipalities would negotiate a collective bargaining agreement that determines whether or not a disability settlement would diminish pension payments. And of course, you can see this from both perspectives. Obviously, the union's looking out for the union worker to make sure that they get the maximum afforded to them by being able to collect their pension and their disability payments. And a municipality might be attempting to reduce their expenses and therefore property taxes by limiting it to a maximum amount or diminishing the pension amount by the disability payment. It's one of those things where this is current in our current law. It's just a negotiated situation. The union and the municipality will sit down and come to an agreement. And I don't see a problem with leaving it that way. This bill essentially takes the side of the union and says the municipality doesn't have the right to negotiate anymore. I take issue with that, partly because we have to consider the fact that the alternative is that it's going to result in a property tax hike because municipalities will be forced to absorb these additional costs and they will be passing them on to the residents of all of our towns. And we already have some of the highest property taxes in the country, so that concerns me. But I have one other issue, Madam Chairman, and maybe you can address this, but my understanding is that, and I don't like this provision, but we have this provision in our state law, which is something called supersedence, which allows a collective bargaining agreement to actually supersede state law. And my opinion is, after reviewing this thoroughly and looking at the statute that affects supersedence, which is section 5-278, that even if we pass this law, the municipality and the union can negotiate their terms, and whatever their terms are, trump whatever we put in the statute because of the supersedence law. So maybe you can clarify whether that's accurate or not, or maybe we can get OLR to comment on it, but that's my understanding, is that supersedence would trump whatever we do here today if we put this into law. And I already expressed my other concerns, and I just wanted those on the record. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
I'll refer the question to Lee Hansen, who is here from OLR. Lee, do you have a response to that?
Yes, for Senator Sampson, the supersedence law in section 5278 would only apply to state employee contracts, not municipal contracts like this. The law is much more limited and wouldn't necessarily apply to a pension situation like this.
Thank you for that response. Senator Sampson, are you done?
Yeah, no, I just found it surprising because most of the time when you hear about supersedence, it is on municipal contracts. You know, we had the big discussion about the police bill, et cetera, and that had a lot to do with municipal contracts superseding state law. So I appreciate that information from Mr. Hansen, and I stand corrected. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Sampson. I do not see any other hands. I just have one comment to make. I appreciate the good senator's remarks, and I appreciate the concern for property owners and for property taxes. But I do feel that the testimony we heard at the public hearing was so compelling, and that these are men and women who serve us and save our lives and protect our homes and our property. And I found it very compelling that we should not, when they have a permanent partial disability, that we should not put them in a situation where they lose some of their pension as a result of that. So I will recognize you, Senator Sampson, for the second time, but I just wanted to say how important I think this is and urge all my colleagues to vote yes on this. Senator Sampson?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I just want to make it very clear that I don't disagree with what you've just said. I'm going to vote no on the bill, but not because I don't believe that it should work out one way or the other. I just prefer to keep the current law, which allows the municipality and the union to make that negotiation without us interfering with it by taking one side or the other. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Sampson. I did, I heard the testimony that we received in public hearing a little bit differently, that this was not a result of negotiations on the part of some of the people who testified with some knowledge of the process. But with that, I see no other hands. And so I would suggest that Clerk, will you call the roll?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Roman numeral 3, bills for final action.
Excuse me, Devin, your sound isn't very good right now. Can you maybe speak up a little bit louder?
Sure, thank you, Madam Chair. Roman numeral 3, bills for final action. Item number 8, SB number 836, an act concerning permanent partial disability and pension offsets, JFS to the floor. Senator Kushner?
Senator Kushner votes yes.
Representative Porter?
Representative Porter votes in the affirmative.
Senator Sampson?
Senator Sampson votes no.
Representative Aurora?
Aurora is a no.
Senator Cabrera?
Senator Cabrera votes yes.
Representative Sanchez?
Representative Sanchez votes yes.
Representative Anderson?
Rep. Anderson votes no.
Representative Hall?
Representative Hall votes yes.
Representative Hughes?
Representative Hughes votes yes.
Senator Lesser?
Senator Lesser, yes.
Representative Bertigliano?
Bertigliano votes no.
Representative Vargas?
Representative Vargas votes yes.
Representative Winkler?
Representative Winkler votes yes.
Thank you to the clerk for that. I believe we did have a break, and I just want to check with the clerk. During the break, did all members of the committee vote?
Yes, Madam Chair.
So all members have had an opportunity to vote on all bills? Great,
That's correct.
thank you. I do have a question for our LCO. In those circumstances where all the votes have already been cast by all members, are we then in a position to announce the tallies, or do we just move to adjourn the meeting?
No, you can announce the tallies, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So clerk, if you will announce the tallies on the votes, and I would appreciate it.
Roman numeral 3, bills for final action. Item number 1, HB 5158, an act concerning breastfeeding in the workplace. JF to the floor. 12 yay, 1 nay, total 13. Item 2, HB number 6376, an act creating a respectful and open world for natural hair. JFS to the floor. 13 yay, total 13. Item number 3, HB number 6378, an act codifying prevailing wage contract rates. JF to the floor. 10 yay, 3 nay, total 13. Item number 4, HB 6380, an act concerning the disclosure of salary range for a vacant position. JF to the floor. 9 yay, 4 nay, total 13. Item number 5, HB number 6381, an act establishing a task force regarding the state workforce and retiring employees. JFS to the floor. 9 yay, 4 nay, total 13. Item number 6, HB 6382, an act strengthening the probate court system. JF to the floor. 9 yay, 4 nay, total 13. Item number 7, HB number 6383, an act concerning call centers and notice of closures. JF to the floor. 9 yay, 4 nay, total 13. Item 8, SB number 836, an act concerning permanent partial disability and pension offsets. JFS to the floor. 9 yay, 4 nay, total 13.
Thank you for that tally. And please remind me, clerk, did we have a tally on the earlier vote on proposed bills to be reserved for subject matter public hearing?
Yes, Madam Chair, the motion, it was carried by voice vote.
Right, that was a voice.
Thank you. Thank you. So item number 5 on our agenda is to announce the date and time of the next meeting. Our next committee meeting will be March 2nd, the time to be announced. And we do have a public hearing on February 25th, a week from today. I do want to remind people about. And seeing no hands, we are then prepared. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
Representative Hughes.
second.
Okay, it was moved by Representative Hughes and seconded by Representative Hall. Hearing, are there any objections? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Bye.
Anybody opposed that wants to stay on here? It's been a long day. Thank you all for your participation, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. Thank you.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Aye.
Good night.